fish oil or cod liver oil or different things. Is there any supplements that you find that are supportive for the baby
Yeah.
microbiome?
Yeah, I mean, I think a really good prenatal is important, especially one with high DHA. There's enough studies that show that that has a significant impact on the cognitive development of the child. But moms should absolutely make sure that they're taking what would be a natural multivitamin. You'd be surprised that the vast majority of multivitamins are made up of vitamins that are synthetic. And synthetic vitamins are developed from petroleum derivatives and have all these chemicals in them. So you want to look for ones that come from fruit and vegetable sources. And there are those out there, like New Chapter, for example, has a really good prenatal that the vitamins and minerals all come from fruit and vegetable sources. And then it has high DHA and folic acid and so on. So a good prenatal is important. I think, of course, an effective probiotic is really the key. You want to eliminate or reduce the leaky gut that mom might be suffering from. You want to make sure that you're rebalancing the microflora. You want to make sure that you're assimilating most of the food that you consume, because the vast majority of your body's ability to actually digest the food and absorb the nutrients is dependent on the microbes that live in your gut. And so when you have a probiotic that can actually do that for you, that eliminates some of the issue of malabsorption of nutrients. Mm-hmm. So we work with, all the studies we do are with the spore-based probiotics, and the spore-based probiotics are the only ones shown in a human clinical trial to be able to resolve the leaky gut in as little as 30 days. So if mom can resolve and eliminate leaky gut, it's a huge benefit to the growing fetus and to the health of the pregnancy in general, because leaky gut is a #1 source of destructive inflammation in adults.
Okay.
And it's this kind of inflammation that leads to obesity, to diabetes, to cancers, to Alzheimer's, all of that stuff. So we can resolve that leaky gut by utilizing an effective probiotic that has a huge impact as well.
So spore-based better than just like lactobacillus or other types of?
Yeah, the stuff you see at the store with like 200 billion, 50 billion, 25 strains, all that stuff, there's no scientific substantiation to any of that. That's basically just all marketing push. And 99.9% of those bacteria are all going to die in the stomach anyway. They're not even going to make it to the intestines. And that's why most of those formulas do not have clinical trials on them. And to me, if you're going to take anything, it should have a clinical trial on the finished formula. So most of what they do is they'll take strains that by themselves, these bacterial strains, have a trial or two, and then they'll combine a whole bunch of strains together and say it's a clinically studied formula. When that's a big problem, because just because 6-7 things on their own have clinical trials that show benefit, it doesn't mean when you combine them, it has a synergistic effect. That's a big assumption that one is making. So the spore-based probiotics, like the Just Thrive product, has clinical studies behind the finished product, and that's really the key to knowing with great certainty that it has a benefit to you.
So tell us about that clinical trial. Like, how many people were in it, and how did it all go down? How many when did they take? How much? How long? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so it was what would be the equivalent of 1 cap a day in the bottle. It's a 30-cap bottle, so it's just 1 capsule a day taken with a meal. It was 100 participants that were screened and then entered into the trial. It was a 30-day trial, and they were looking at leaky gut. We were looking at changes in the amount of leaky gut, in all of the inflammatory markers that are associated with the leaky gut. There are 12 different inflammatory markers, looking at things like ghrelin function, which is your hunger hormone, and being able to reestablish that gut-brain communication so that your gut can tell your brain, hey, we have enough food, stop eating, and reestablish the metabolic parameters. We're looking at increased triglyceride, being able to reduce triglyceride levels, which means the liver is going through a lot less toxicity and you have a lot less liver fat in the circulatory system. So all of those parameters were increased quite dramatically in just that 30-day period. And all they did was take the probiotic once a day. There were no dietary changes, no lifestyle modifications. The study was done on healthy young college students. And the reason for that is, we're looking at people without any disease parameters and just looking at changes in the way the microbiome functions and in the ability to reduce the leakiness of the gut. What we found is when we screened 100 college students, and these were, remember, healthy young students, the prime of their lives, no obesity, no disease, 55% of them had significant leaky gut.
Oh,
meaning every time they ate food, the amount of toxin in their system increased by 6-fold on average. And the university that did the study had previously shown that it took the body almost 2 weeks to recover from that single meal. So imagine 2 weeks of inflammation from one meal, right? And so you never recover because this is happening 2-3 times a day.
Wow.
And so we were able to almost completely eliminate that inflammation and that leakiness of the gut in 30 days. So it was really a landmark study. It was published in the World Journal of Gastrointestinal Pathophysiology, a big, super nerdy GI journal. And the reason we published it in a gastroenterology journal is we wanted allopathic and GI doctors to start to see that certain probiotics do have significant beneficial effects, and so hopefully they'll start recommending it.
Yeah, I'll post that study so people can see it. I'm sure there's like a link to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. People can actually, it's also the other good thing about it is it's an open source journal, meaning you don't have to pay for the research paper. So a lot of journals that are not open source, you have to spend $49 to get a copy of the study. But this one, when you post a link, they can go download the full study themselves for free at no cost. So